They were shouting out about national insurance contributions, and this is a question about national insurance contributions. The Prime Minister has made the decision to introduce a jobs tax which will kill the recovery. Now, this morning, on GMTV, he said that business leaders who oppose this decision have been deceived. Is the Prime Minister really telling us that he knows more about job creation than business leaders who employ almost 1 million people in this country?
Mr. Speaker, once again, I have to tell him about what happened during this recession and what we had to do to take this country out of recession. We had to nationalise Northern Rock, and they opposed it. We had to restructure the banks. Business supported us, but they opposed it. We had to take action to secure help for the unemployed. Businesses support the Future Jobs Fund. They opposed it. We had to take action to help homeowners. Business supported it. They opposed it. And we had to take action to help small business itself. And they opposed the funds that were necessary. Now, as far as national insurance is concerned, there is a choice. There is a clear choice. We can put the national insurance up and therefore protect our schools, our hospitals and our policing. Or we can do what the Conservatives traditionally do, and that's put our hospitals, police and our health service at risk.
The choice is Labour's decision to go on wasting money and then put up tax on every job in the country. These business leaders, this is what they said. Cutting government waste won't endanger the recovery, but putting up national insurance will. Now, let me ask him again. Does he believe that these business leaders, including members of his own advisory council, does he believe they were deceived?
Mr. Speaker, we cannot cut our way to recovery, and that's why to withdraw £6 billion from the economy now is the wrong thing to do. And let us be clear, the Conservative policies would put jobs at risk immediately, would put businesses at risk immediately, and would put growth at risk immediately. As far as 2011 is concerned, we've got to make a decision. Do we want to maintain the improvement in our policing, our public services, our health service guarantees, and maintain investment in the schools? We say that that will cost that extra money on national insurance. They say no. Public must make up their mind. Do they want the public services to be maintained, or do we want the traditional Tory policy of putting our public services at risk?
This will be David Cameron's last question.
The Prime Minister said these business leaders had been deceived. Since then, another 30 business leaders have come again and said, oh, they're right and they're wrong. And let me tell him, let me just read the Prime Minister what they're saying. Paul Walsh, the head of Diageo, on the Prime Minister's Business Council. No, not a Tory, one of his advisers. Yeah. Well, he's probably a Tory now, so are half the country. Let's hear what he had to say. It is not true to claim businesses have been deceived. National insurance is a tax on jobs. Let's hear from John Egan, former head of BAA. How can there be a deception? National insurance is a tax on jobs, pure and simple. Isn't the truth this? This Prime Minister would wreck the recovery by putting a tax on every job, on everyone earning over 20,000, a tax on aspiration, a tax on every business on the country. This government would wreck the recovery.
Mr. Speaker, it's the same old Conservative Party.
Order. John Bercow intervening again here.
Members must calm themselves. There are several weeks to go. The Leader of the Opposition was heard, and the Prime Minister will now be heard. Prime Minister.
Once again, he said nothing about the future. It's the same old Tories. Mr. Speaker, to think he was the future once. Mr. Speaker.
That's a line that Cameron famously used against Tony Blair.
In the health service. Mr. Speaker, 2.5 million more jobs since 1997. A sure start in every community in our country. More pupils are staying on at school than ever. More students going to university. More pensioners out of poverty. More dignity and security in retirement. And we are the government that has plans for the future. They have nothing to offer. Only a Labour government can do it.
Mr. Tom Clark.
Mr. Speaker, it is my right